All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin.
And I'm John.
And today, on this episode, we are talking about Jurassic World. Welcome back, everybody, to Jurassic June. Jurassic World is the fourth installment in the Jurassic Park franchise. Jurassic World is set 22 years after the horrific events of the first Jurassic Park movie. A new park has opened in its wake called Jurassic World, and now it is a fully functioning and running theme park. However, when a genetically altered dinosaur called the Indominus Rex escapes captivity, it's now up to Claire, the operations manager of the park, to save her two visiting nephews with the help of raptor trainer Owen from the fallout and destruction. So, John, we are at the fourth movie in Jurassic June. How's it been for you so far? Have you been enjoying the ride?
The ride's been a little bumpy. It had some stalling parts.
Well, I am so happy for you then. So, Jurassic World, an interesting fact about Jurassic World is, all right, we didn't like Jurassic Park 2, right? We weren't a fan of The Lost World. Jurassic Park 3, we weren't a fan of that, right? I guess pretty much we can say for sure we weren't a fan of that. Well, you are super duper in luck. Jurassic World is a reboot of sorts of the franchise. So now the continuity is Jurassic Park and then Jurassic World. Jurassic Park 2 and 3 there, they don't exist anymore. So this was our new shot at the series now. So this is make it up for it. We're gonna fix the problems. You know, we're done. You know, no more of that nonsense. No more of Alan talking dinosaurs. No more of, you know, Jeff Goldblum. Well, maybe some Jeff Goldblum. That's another review. But no more of, you know, that crazy gymnast kicking a raptor into a steel spike. Dinosaurs running loose in the town. Oh wait, maybe that does happen again too. Anyway, it's a new start. So before we saw this together way back when this first came out. We did see this together in theaters. I want to ask you first, what was your initial impression, and has your impression changed later on from seeing this movie? Like now, do you think differently of this movie versus when you first saw it?
I think a little bit differently now than I first saw it. But like because when I first saw it, I was really I was kind of excited for this movie.
Right.
Because it was been a while since Jurassic Park 3.
Right.
And I was thinking, okay, this kind of sounds cool. And they're kind of taking it back to like the old roots in a way. Like instead of Jurassic Park, it's Jurassic World now.
Right.
It's kind of got like the same ride, like a type of a ride thing, like an attraction more.
Right.
But then I knew going in, I was like, I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
So this is interesting. So when we first saw the movie, I think I decently enjoyed it, to be honest with you. I would say, like, you know, I came out of this movie, I'm like, Jurassic Park's back. You know, this is cool. I'm so happy. You know, franchise is saved. The years haven't been as kind to that idea, and I think I have a reason that we'll get into later. But I would say my opinion's fallen since then. It hasn't toileted, that's for sure. But it's not as great as I thought it was when I first saw it, I would say. So let's get into some positives, as we usually do. I think Chris Pratt and the Raptor relationship in this movie is probably one of the best things in the movie, I thought, honestly. The rest of the actors, whatever. But Chris Pratt, I thought, and the Raptors, especially Blue, which, you know, again, that gets more maybe into the next movie. But I thought that relationship was pretty well done. I liked how they were training the Raptors. You know, again, they've been hinting at the Raptors' intelligence in the series. Again, we're ignoring 2 and 3, but they've hinted at that before. So I thought that was kind of cool to see that, especially that motorcycle scene. You can't argue that's not cool at all, because it is.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
and I agree with that too. Like with Chris Pratt and the Raptors being like cool and stuff. Mm-hmm. I also thought, Claire was also like decent too as an actress. Bryce Dallas Howard.
Right, right.
I thought she was pretty good too. Like in the beginning, she was kind of like, okay, she just seems like she's almost like too stuck up and too stuff. But I feel like as the movie went on,
Hmm.
she started getting a lot better and maybe more comfortable in like the role that she was playing.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. I definitely see a character growth from her. I would say from the movie, whether it's an act, whether she's acting or not acting, is a totally different thing. But I do see what you're saying as far as her becoming more comfortable as a character, especially towards the end of the movie. I think she's grown into the character at that point. Definitely a positive. So other positives, most of all the dinosaur interactions I feel like are pretty positive in this movie. Like I said, the Velociraptor motorcycle scene's awesome. Them hunting down, the other agents or whatever, the other soldiers, they were tearing them down was kind of cool. The T-Rex fight at the end is very
Oh
serviceable and
yeah.
great. Uh, I do like that. I like that a lot.
Well,
Um,
even like
yeah.
if you take like the ending, like the absolute ending of this movie, where you have the T Rex on top of the roof and like just up there, it's
Hmm.
so iconic in a way.
Right.
It's kind of like it's like a perfect way almost to end like a franchise right there, like just with that moment, because it's like almost a moment that captures in time, like
Yeah.
one of those things that you're like, that's like his kingdom, you know?
Right. Well, even more interesting, I would say, is I thought the CG for the dinosaurs, I thought that was all pretty well done in this movie. I think we come to a point where, you still know it's not there, but again, I'll always fight for something actually being there. But if you can't have an actual physical representation, this movie did decent with that. I thought the CG was all competent. I would say I didn't think anything was too fake looking or anything like that. I think it balanced everything it needed to as far as that. Um, Another positive, my biggest positive I would say for this movie, and this is something that hasn't been done in any of the other movies. So this was something different, completely different for this movie, which and then it hasn't been done after, because it can't be, I guess, at this point. Is we actually had a full operating theme park, and we got to actually see what the whole operating theme park looked like, how it interacted, what attractions it had. It had rooms for people. If anything, that was probably like the most interesting aspect of this movie, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah,
Like I said, it had rides, it had lines, and people complaining. Like I felt
I
like I
mean,
was at a theme park. It really
I
felt
kind of,
like that.
yeah, and I kind of wish though they went more into that per se, like because like if they kind of like gave you like a tour maybe or something, like that would have been cool.
Yeah, that could
Because
have been cool. Yeah, like an
I feel like they
interactive.
did,
Mhm.
yeah, like they did so much to make it like so original and so like just like believable that they could have done more with that per se.
Yeah, and I'm sorry ahead of time for prehistoric fanatics, but the giant water dinosaur scene, I don't know what kind of dinosaur that is. Shame on me. I thought that was awesome, and it was cool because you got to see, they were feeding it like you were at like you were at like SeaWorld almost. You
Yeah,
fed it, and the seats drop down in the tank, and you see everybody clapping and
yeah,
watching the
that was so,
dinosaur swimming around. Like that's cool. Like I like that a
well, yeah.
lot. That
Like
was
if I
really
got to,
cool.
yeah, like if they had that at another theme park where they had like not like say that dinosaur, but where like it jumps up and it splashes you, but then like
Hmm.
the whole entire like tank then like kind of rises
Right.
and you can kind of see it swimming like almost at your level.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome. Like that's one of those things that you're like, all right, I can remember. Like you remember that.
Right, right, and like I said, and then they showed like the little kiddie ride that had the little dinosaurs. They were riding like the little baby
Oh yeah,
dinosaur ride. Again, these little things that added up. I think was it Jimmy Fallon does the video for the one ride. Like that's something you would see at like Universal or Disney. You'd have a
yeah.
celebrity doing the stupid video of, oh, what's this ride about? Or again, it really captured that essence, and it's even more interesting, which leads into another slightly positive, and then it does have a dark end to it. But another positive is this movie's self-aware to an extent. It knows what it is. There's a scene earlier on that Jake Johnson's in. He's been in New Girl. He's also in the new Spider-Man movie. He was Spider-Man. He was the older Peter Parker from another universe. He's like a fanatic of Jurassic Park. He has like a vintage T-shirt from the original park, and he's talking about all these all the craziness that happened with the park and everything like that. But the way he's talking, it's self-aware of like, oh, how great that old park is. Well, this park's better now, and there's all this stuff. And
Yeah.
again, it's self-aware of what it's trying to do, to a positive, and later on we'll talk about a negative. But I think that works for the movie in some respect.
Well, yeah, even going into that, like, I just like the simple jabs that he kind of took at the old park, but then
Right.
saying, like, that's the classic park. That's the movie that everybody loved and that this movie wanted to try to live up to,
Right.
not like the not 2 and 3. Like they wanted to, and I feel like they did a good job of just like the little things that were like Jurassic Park, like the T-shirt and everything. I just felt that that was cool.
It was fun. Like I said, it was fun. So again, to a point, which we'll talk about later. The only other thing I do I'll give a positive for this movie is the idea of the Adonis Rex. Um, this series I've had a big complaint about since going from 2 going forward is how it's turned slowly into a monster movie almost. This movie's kind of cementing. I think more so the next movie when we talk about it, but this movie is really the big turn for me to where we're becoming that like that big monster story that we're trying to tell right now. Um, I don't mind it though. I think they did it in a good way. I think it touched on some of the darker elements. This movie's not dark by any means. I mean, really, you don't see anyone die horribly to any extent on screen in this movie, I would say, which is kind
Yeah,
of
no.
weird. You know, you just see, I think only the only character, Vincent D'Onofrio plays Hoskins, who's one of the military people. I think he's the only one you see like get bit by a dinosaur. I want to say I could be wrong. Let me know in the
Yeah.
comments. But you just see his hand get bit, and then he gets killed by a dinosaur. That's like the most violent thing that actually happens to anybody in this movie.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, with that being said, but yeah, you know, I don't know. Like I said, this movie, the idea is great. You know, it's going into the sci-fi territory. It's dipping its toes into like sci-fi execution and stuff like that. So, you know, the genetically altered dinosaurs. Yeah, which that kind of rolls into my negative. So where I'm trying to get really at this point is the negatives is the idea of this movie creating the Indominus Rex is almost a negative to me in extent. They're saying people don't want dinosaurs anymore. So the whole idea of the Indominus Rex in this movie, the creature that they're creating, is they're creating the ultimate dinosaur that'll make people go crazy as a new attraction that's scary and everyone will like go crazy for it and want to spend all their money. I don't I don't buy that dinosaurs are boring. I don't buy that like whole like, oh well, we've seen dinosaurs now, so whatever, we need something new and different. That just doesn't. I don't buy that at this point. I think people would still be amazed. The park's said many times the park's very expensive to go to and not open to everybody. So I don't see people being bored of dinosaurs. I think anybody going is going to be like, oh okay, you know, this is pretty cool.
I also think they like touch on your point too, where they
Yeah.
start. Someone I forget in one of the movies goes, "It seems like we're not talking about dinosaurs anymore. We're talking about
That's
monsters."
what. Yeah, I brought that up before.
And
Yeah.
like I feel like in a way, it kind of like starts to make you think like, yeah, with this whole park being open to all those people and everything, you
Right.
look at it and you go, all these there's there's a lot of people there.
Hmm.
But think about how many years it has to be open for so many people to see it that they get tired of dinosaurs too, you know?
Right. Right. And like I said, I have other, you know, those are my main hangups. You know, again, that's just a logic issue, which this movie does have a lot of logic issues, I would say. That being the main one, though, that I would touch on. So
Yeah.
we'll go back into the cast a little bit. So we talked about Chris Pratt. I think me and you both agreed that we did like Chris Pratt. Um, he's not the most rugged guy, especially when he's wearing his guy liner, pretty obviously in this movie. Again, I thought he was good casting. You know, he is like he's genuinely likable. So you know, again, I don't buy him so much as a hardened, you know, former military guy. But you know, I got it. Okay, you sold me. You sold me on Chris Pratt sold me on Chris Pratt. So I was okay with that. Bryce Dallas Howard, you liked her maybe a little more than I did. I thought she was just serviceable to the plot. Uh, you know, that's fine. Everybody else,
I
no.
also liked I also liked Omar Sy though.
He was
He was
fine, but he didn't
very
matter. This
I
is
feel
my
like I feel
problem.
like I feel like he was worked good along with
No.
Chris Pratt though.
So here's my problem. You have zero depth. There is zero depth to all these characters besides even the kids. The kids are atrocious. And I hate to pick on kid actors, but God, these
Man,
kids were...
you've been doing that a lot.
I know, these kids are bad. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's their dialogue or whatever the case is. These kids were just bad. All their lines... It was annoying. The one kid, I don't know what was going on with the younger brother, but the older one was this major creep who had like creepy staring at girl scenes, and no, I just didn't do. What was that? Who's that for? Like, it was just. I'm sorry if you're trying to relate to younger kids. I don't think so. Another big issue, not even beside. I mean, you had Vincent D'Onofrio, who I like Vincent D'Onofrio a lot. I think he's a great actor. He was kind of underutilized. I mean, I guess he was kind of the bad guy, if there was a bad guy in this movie, which there isn't. There again, the plot's kind of all over the place with that. He's a bad guy because he wants to militarize dinosaurs. Another really stupid thing I don't like is militarizing dinosaurs. No, thank you. But again, Vincent D'Onofrio, very one-dimensional, like, ha ha ha, military dinosaurs. I'm the bad guy. Fine, we got it. But no, man, no.
I still think one of like the main bad guys in like all these movies, but he's not like a known kind of bad guy, but it just seems like he's kind of like always up to no good is Dr. Henry Wu. Like I always feel like he's up to no good, and he always gets away with like things and just like,
well, this is my thing.
He seems like he pushes the boundaries way too much, and then he tries to get out of it.
So B.D. Wong, who plays Dr. Henry Wu, right? He's in Jurassic Park. He's in the first one. He's the scientist that hands over the egg and says, "Oh, look, the raptor." Whatever, disappears, never heard from, never seen from again. What? Honestly, nothing against it. He's just a background character. I thought he was just kind of there. Suddenly now he's the elite scientist who does everything, and he's like this scheming man with like almost like a super villain level of like scientific information about combining genes and No, where did that come from? I know you had to make an antagonist, but dude, like, no. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that guy. He comes back later on in the series, comes back in the next movie, but still, it's like, come on, like, that's your bad guy is friggin' Dr. Henry Wu? Like, really? That was your bad guy? I'm sorry. I'm not doing it.
I will say one thing that I thought about that they also do good in this movie is, you know how in the first Jurassic Park we were talking about they only have like 3 people to run the whole entire park.
Right.
Well, at least in this one, they have like a whole control room that's kind of running the park. So it seems a little bit more legit too.
Like barely, in a way. I would say, because that's a pretty big theme park. So you could probably use a little more staff. Again, not going to shortchange the movie on that. I think it's more funny than anything else. That's what you're running your whole theme park on.
And you know what's one negative I've found in this movie? Like the fact that they're so worried about the dinosaur coming into like the theme park area per se, right?
Right.
And then everybody starts running. But they never show where these people actually go to hide from the dinosaurs, you know?
Well, they do
show.
They go into the buildings. They go inside.
Yeah, but
you know,
does that seem safe? Like, come on, it's a building. And we've seen what dinosaurs do to buildings. And we saw what happened to the buildings at the end in that huge fight with the T-Rex.
Right.
And it just seemed to me like it's kind of just like thrown out like, oh yeah, we got these. It seemed like they only had like 5,000 people, say, in the park or something, and they just stuffed them all in a building or something. You know?
I mean, there's some logic stuff with that, which again, that falls under the whole like, what the heck? Like seriously, with the logic of this movie. I want to get into, like I said, we talked about the militarization. I'm against that. Like, stop that. It's still going to keep going. So I guess I just might as well accept it at this point. I would say the lack of practical is a negative, which you probably all knew I was going to say that anyway. There really isn't much that's practical in this movie. And it does, again, the CG is good. We're not saying it's bad, I would say, but it definitely shows when there's not much practical going on. Maybe a couple more practical dinosaur scenes would have heightened the adrenaline a little bit, and especially some of the raptor scenes. I can't see why you couldn't have used practical raptors to an extent. Maybe not the T-Rex, because I get it. It's cheaper to not, but again,
it's a T-Rex.
It's a T-Rex again. So we got that. Another negative, and this is just a side note: the death of the assistant, or her assistant is guy. So I looked it up. This is the first female death in all of the Jurassic Park movies, and she had a
Really?
super violent death for someone who like didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I guess she just wasn't watching them that great, so that's why she had to be like captured by a pterodactyl and ripped and thrown into a giant. That was just craziness. I don't know what that was about. Again, that bothered. I just thought that was weird. I would say I'd put it almost
do
as a
your
negative,
job.
You
Do
know?
your job better, lady. Okay.
Yeah, I guess not doing your job means you get murdered extremely violently. Apparently, worse than even the bad guy of this movie. You get like destroyed.
Well, the best part is she like calls her and she goes, "Where are they?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know. I lost them a while ago."
Right.
Like, this is one terrible person you hired to watch them.
Yeah. I don't know. That bothered me. So we're now at my two biggest issues with this movie at this point.
Oh.
The first one, there's so much advertising in this movie. So much advertising, from the cars to the headphones the kids wearing to the places people are getting their coffee at. Like, it's in your face, especially the car. I know they were sponsored. I think it was it Nissan? Mercedes. There's a Mercedes logo in your face every 2 seconds of this movie. And you know how you know that? And you're probably like, Kevin, it's just a car. What's the big deal? The big deal is the camera zooms in on the logo of the car first and then pans up. That's how you know they're shoving it in your face. It's not like, oh, the logo just happened to be there and, whatever happened. Something similar to this is The Walking Dead. If anyone's ever watched that, I'm sure people have in the comments and who are watching this video. They do the same thing with cars too. I forget who sponsors The Walking Dead, but so you're telling me the whole zombie apocalypse is only one type of car that survived, and that's what everybody's driving, and it just so happens you zoom into the logo and pan to the whole rest of the car. I don't like that. The advertising takes me out of it. The even worse part, like we were talking about earlier, is how the movie's self-aware. It's self-aware to where they talk about the Indominus Rex sponsored by T-Mobile, I think she calls it, or whatever it is. So they're aware of the advertising, but they're doing the same thing. You're making fun of something, but you're doing it too. Your movie's actually, it's not like just, oh, the theme park's doing it, so it's kind of silly. No, the movie itself is actually doing it. The thing you're making fun of, you're doing. That doesn't work.
You know what's weird though? Like, when you're saying about like the coffee place and like the only thing I really noticed, I didn't notice the headphones per se, and I didn't know the coffee. I didn't recognize
headphones when they zoomed into his ear. It's like, oh, the Beat headphones are on.
Yeah, I kind of just
his head's perfectly turned like to the side as I cut out there and bang my own microphone. It's like perfectly there. Like, come on, no, I'm sorry.
I kind of just didn't even think about that. Like the Mercedes thing, I think it was, or Cadillac or something.
Whatever it is, whatever the car is. It's stupid. I'm sorry. And it doesn't make me want to buy that car. It's not Jurassic World's not the movie to do that. That being said, like I said, that's a hang up. I've always had that hang up in movies. I like when movies make up things that aren't necessarily the same thing. Like make up a fake brand or whatever. Like just go out of the way, take me out of it. I don't need to be that immersed where the advertising's thrown in my face. Last thing, and I think, like I said earlier, I had a different viewing experience from the first time I saw this to where we are now with this movie. First time I watched this movie, I really enjoyed it. I thought, oh, this was great. Later on, not so much. And I think the reason why is this movie has too much nostalgia. Too much. Everything is reliant on the first movie. From her bringing out the T-Rex with the flare, for saying, like, the kid finding the goggles, almost the setup, everything, it's too nostalgic. It's so concerned with saying, hey, look what I did. Look how great that first movie is. We got it in this movie. Look how great it was. It's so concerned with that it almost hampers this movie from being successful. Instead of it focusing on the things that it's doing differently, it's too worried about pleasing a nostalgic audience, which I think works as a quick injection into the fan base where everybody's happy, but later on, the cracks show, I think, a lot. And that really bothers me. I think it's almost like it's playing with, I don't want to say it's playing with your emotions, but it's like, oh, you remember how great that was? And a similar comparison, which we haven't really gotten into, which, eventually we will be the Star Wars movies. Force Awakens, the newest Star Wars when that new trilogy started, did the same thing. Whoa, look how great these movies are. Look how great they were. We got oh, look, Darth Vader's helmet's in here. Oh, look at that, you know? Oh, you remember this? This was Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. You remember that? Oh, we did that in this movie. These movies are too reliant on the past to move forward. And to me, that's always a big negative. How about you, John? How do you feel? Again, nostalgia, I think we can agree that nostalgia isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think in this instance, it's too much.
I I can see where you're coming from with that. I can see how it's annoying. The only thing I would say is like for me like sometimes nostalgia in movies like it doesn't like it almost makes sometimes you compare and contrast movies in a way. And like the things that they brought back I felt like were cool and I liked in the first movie and I kind of was like happy to see them in this movie. But in a way I was like listen, you're not the first movie. I know you're trying to be like based off the first movie, but you're so much different and things are so much different in this movie that you got to try to like stay in your own lane per se, I
Right,
guess.
right. I see what you're saying, and that's where I'm getting at too. Is it's afraid to be original because it doesn't want to aggravate a fan base. But by doing that, you're alienating people because you're too reliant on the past. It's too afraid to move on. So I think that was like my biggest issue with this movie. I'd have to say. So that being said, John, do you have anything else you want to add? Was there anything negative else you want to talk about? Anything else positive that you want to add?
I don't think so. No.
No. All right. Well, that being said, we're at the end of the line here as far as this. So my score, I'm going to start off this one. I want to say it's not the worst movie. I don't think it is. That's reserved. Spoilers. That is reserved for Jurassic Park 3. Well, maybe we'll see what happens when Fallen Kingdom comes. But right now, Jurassic Park 3 would be the worst. I would put this movie, as far as the way I view it, is like Lost World level for me. So I'm actually going to match that score that I gave for Lost World. I'm going to give Jurassic World a C. And like I said, I think there's enough intrigue in the movie to where I found it more interesting to go back and watch it, especially, like I said, the theme park aspects I thought were really great. The raptor interaction was interesting and unique. The dinosaur fight scenes were cool. My big issues, like I said, though, it's too nostalgia heavy, and I think that just holds the movie back from being something new and original and taking the franchise in a new direction. John, where are you at with this movie? Talk to me.
I'm actually gonna give it the C plus.
C plus.
I
Okay.
felt that it's was different enough and good enough compared to like the rest of them. Not as good as the first one, but better than the other ones we've seen before this one.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that helped to get a little bit. And I thought like the movie in an all together wasn't so bad. It wasn't like
Right. I
I
could agree
had
with
to
you there. Right.
I wasn't trying to die to get through it. I wasn't like watching it going through an hour and going, "Wow, this is really bad. How am I going to get through this?" You know?
Right.
It was enjoyable. And with the little throwbacks and other things and there's things that you can tear apart and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
altogether I'd give it a C plus.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, I think we're pretty close on this one. I think that's so. Yeah, that's great. And like I said, I recommend it. People should still watch it, especially for the younger viewers. I think it's fine. Fine introduction into Jurassic Park. Maybe a younger audience would find it a little more interesting. Like the younger crowd. Another thing that we'll talk about maybe probably in the next review is how they've shifted a lot of the marketing towards toys now. So there are a lot of like Jurassic World toys, and there's a lot of dinosaurs, and again, it panders to the younger crowd, but it's also there's enough in there for the adults. So I think it's enjoyable. Definitely recommend. So John, at that time, right now, where can the people find us?
You can find us if you search The Real Movie Guys on YouTube, like, subscribe to our channel, and you can find us on Twitter at The Real Movie Guy. And you can also find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, The Real Movie Guys.
And please do not forget, for your listening pleasure, we are available on multiple podcast platforms. Currently, we are available through Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen. If you're listening to us right now, hey, that's great. We really appreciate it. Just search The Real Movie Guys. We're going to pop right up. Yeah, like I said, we're trying to expand our platforms. Make sure, you interact with us down below. Give us a like John said, comment. We'll just subscribe if we earned it. We really appreciate it. Again, though, I want to thank all of you guys for joining us for this other episode of Jurassic June. We got one more final installment coming. It'll be the end of our journey. I think it's been pretty fun right now. Been enjoying the little dinosaur excursion. That being said, my name's Kevin. This guy over here, his name's John. We are the Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll see you next time.
See ya.